Ever broken a bone before? Then you already have an idea of how important bones are. They give your body shape and structure, protect your internal organs, and help you move by working with muscles and joints. But what if I told you your bones are literally keeping you alive? That the reason you're healthy, can fight off infections, and have oxygen reaching your brain right now, is because of your bones? Sounds confusing? Don't worry, it'll make sense by the end of this video. Bones aren't just hard, lifeless structures, they're living connective tissues made up of different layers, each with a unique function. There are 5 different types of bones in your body: flat bones, long bones, irregular bones, sesamoid bones, and short bones. Each of these has different structures and functions. But despite their differences, most bones share 4 common layers: the periosteum, compact bone, spongy bone, and bone marrow. Let's understand this better using the example of a long bone. Here, you can see the basic outer structure of a long bone. The long middle section is called the diaphysis, and the ends are called the epiphyses. The ends are also covered with articular cartilage, which allows smooth movement at joints and helps the bone connect to other bones. Now let's look inside. Here's what the internal structure of the same bone looks like. Periosteum is a thin outer membrane that protects the bone and helps it grow and heal. Compact bone is the dense, strong layer that gives the bone its strength and rigidity. Spongy bone is a lighter, porous layer that helps absorb shock and reduces the bone's weight. Inside the spongy bone, you'll find a web-like framework made of thin bony plates called trabeculae. They are arranged in a way that helps resist stress and distribute pressure across the bone. In between the trabeculae are spaces filled with bone marrow. If you've noticed, there are 2 different colors of bone marrow shown in this illustration. That's because bone marrow comes in 2 types, red marrow and yellow marrow. And the bone marrow, especially the red bone marrow, is what actually keeps you alive. That's what we'll be focusing on for the rest of this video. In the last video, we talked about the different types of blood cells and how important each one is. But did you know that these cells are actually made inside your bones? Or more specifically, in your bone marrow. The bone marrow is a soft, spongy tissue found inside the bones of your body and is of 2 types, red marrow and yellow marrow. Red bone marrow is responsible for making blood cells, whereas yellow bone marrow is mostly made of fat cells and stores energy. RBCs, WBCs, and platelets, or the formed elements of blood, are produced from the red bone marrow, which is why it's so important. These cells are essential for your body to be healthy. As you have seen earlier, red bone marrow is present in the spaces between the trabeculae of the spongy bones, and yellow bone marrow is present in the medullary cavity of the diaphysis in long bones. In newborns, all bone marrow is red and active in blood cell production, but with age, the rate of blood cell formation decreases in the body, and the red bone marrow in the medullary cavity of long bones becomes inactive and is replaced by yellow bone marrow. Here's something interesting. In emergencies, yellow bone marrow in adults can actually convert back to red bone marrow to help produce more blood cells. In adults, red bone marrow is found in flat bones such as the sternum or the breastbone, ribs, skull bones, the scapulae or your shoulder blades, and pelvic bones. Red marrow is also found in irregular bones like your vertebrae and in the ends of long bones or the epiphyses of humerus and femur. As mentioned earlier, red bone marrow is the place where your blood cells are made. It's packed with blood vessels and special cells that work around the clock to make the cells your body needs to survive. The process of making blood cells is called hematopoiesis, or hematopoiesis. Inside the red bone marrow, there's a tiny group of very special cells. They're called pluripotent stem cells, or hemocytoblasts. Even though they make up less than 1% of all the cells in bone marrow, they're incredibly powerful. Why? Because these stem cells can turn into any type of blood cell your body needs. These stem cells first split into 2 main types, myeloid stem cells and lymphoid stem cells. Myeloid stem cells stay in the bone marrow and develop into red blood cells, white blood cells, and platelets. Lymphoid stem cells also start in the bone marrow, but they travel to other parts of the immune system, like the lymph nodes, to become lymphocytes, which protect your body from viruses and other threats. As these stem cells grow, they decide what kind of blood cell they'll become. First, they turn into progenitor cells, early-stage cells that are committed to becoming one specific type of blood cell. Some of these are called colony-forming units, or CFUs, because they each form a colony of just one type of blood cell. For example, CFUE makes red blood cells, CFUGM forms white blood cells like neutrophils and monocytes, and CFUMeg leads to platelets. These then turn into precursor cells, also called blasts, which are the last step before becoming mature blood cells. For example, monoblasts become monocytes, and eosinophilic myeloblasts become eosinophils. Proerythroblasts become red blood cells and megakaryoplasts turn into platelets. Similarly, lymphoblasts become lymphocytes. So in simple words, your red bone marrow takes tiny starter cells, gives them instructions, and turns them into the exact blood cells your body needs, every single second. Your bone marrow is working 24/7, it's one of the most active organs in your body. On average, bone marrow produces hundreds of billions of blood cells every day to replace old or damaged ones. Your bone marrow produces about 2 million red blood cells per second. By the time you finish watching this video, your body may have made over 100 million new ones. So now you know, your bones don't just help you move, they keep you alive. Red bone marrow makes the blood cells your body needs to survive. No red blood cells? Your organs don't get oxygen. No white blood cells? You can't fight off infections. No platelets? Your blood won't clot. And in cases where bone marrow stops working, there's one life-saving solution, a bone marrow transplant. Curious to know more? Make sure to subscribe, because that's exactly what we're covering in the next video.